This is Bill Meyer with fmSystems, and welcome to today's webinar. We're going to be focusing on the FM Interact project management module, and let's go ahead and get started for today. A few things that I want to point out just to help us along here is that on the GoToWebinar panel that might still be displaying on the right side of your screen, about halfway down, maybe 2/3 of the way down, is an area for questions. Please, as I go through this demonstration, feel free to jot down your questions in that area, and then when I have finished with my demonstration, I will go in and answer the questions as best I can. So any questions that you might have will be answered over on the webinar panel. And finally, up on the upper left of that panel, you'll see a little toolbar. At the very top of that is an orange arrow icon pointing to the right. If you click on that, it is going to minimize your GoToWebinar panel so that you can see more of your screen if that's hindering any of your view. Okay? All right, well with that, let's go ahead and get started. A little bit of background on fmSystems. We have been in business for almost 30 years now, began in 1984, right after the founding of IFMA. And our CEO and founder, who was there from the beginning, is still our CEO and founder, Mike Schley. He is an IFMA fellow, so that's a very honorary reward for his service to the facilities world over many years. And I myself have been working in facilities since 1994 and have been a user of this product and am now an employee and do a lot of these types of demos. This demo is meant to be very high level, just to give you an idea of what the project management module can do. And if there is further information or a deeper dive that you would like, I encourage all of you to go to our website at www.fmsystems.com, and there you can sign up for other webinars and also be able to sign up for your own personal demo with your company. Okay. Well, let's get into this. This is the project management tool that you're seeing on the screen right now. It is fully configurable, just like the rest of our modules. So what that means is that you can go in and make changes to it. And this is extremely beneficial, especially when it comes to project management. Because back in the day in my old company, what project management meant to our company was probably something very different what project management meant to a facilities group in a company down the road. And that's likewise throughout the industry in the many different verticals. Everybody has different requirements, even different workflows, approval processes, all of these things necessary to complete the job for your particular organization may be different from organization to organization. So the idea behind this module in particular was that you can configure it to meet your needs. Now I will point out here on the left-hand side that in our demo we have 9 different stages, and you'll see these labeled 1 through 9 here. Okay? That is the out-of-the-box configuration of the tool. I will make a comment at this point saying that many of our customers do not need 9 stages to fulfill a project. Some of them even for only 4 or 5 stages. There are some, though, however, due to maybe their healthcare industry or they have specific federal level or state level requirements, they have even greater a greater number of stages within their workflow in order to accomplish the information necessary to meet specific criteria for their group. Okay? So I just want to point that out. I'm going to be just showing you kind of what is designed out of the box, but keep in mind the configuration allows you to be able to make those changes, and it's not customization. So the difference is when you go to upgrade, so we have our next release of our product due out, at the end of the month here, version 8.2. When you go to upgrade, any changes that you made to the workflow, to the data views, to reports, all of that, we guarantee will be upgraded. Okay, so that means you don't have to hire someone to come back and do all that work over again every time you upgrade from release to release within the software. That's a guarantee of ours, and as a customer, I can tell you that indeed is the case. The changes that you make through configuration do get upgraded into the next releases of the product. Okay? All right, let's go ahead and start with a project request form. This is a form that, of course, you can update and you can define yourself, but we might come in and we might do, northwest area reconfig, okay? We'll leave it as that, just a very simple description there. Then we have a project type, and it's a drop-down list. You can create your own drop-down lists. So again, going alongside the configurability of the product, you can come in and you can define what types of projects make the most sense for your organization. Okay, so you would be able to go in and do that within the system. Now, that in itself, defining your project type, might define a specific workflow for you. Okay, so maybe there's additional fields that will now be displayed and shown because you have chosen a particular project type. All right, so just keep that in mind. Who's requesting this? We can change who that is, the requesting cost center. When this is required, basically the last end date of the project. So we might go ahead a month or two and select a specific date for that to be, and then your budget. How much do we envision this is going to cost? And remember, you can have multi-tier approval levels. At this point, we're just saying, hey, we want to do this project, and we think it's going to cost about $100,000. So we'll put that in, and we'll say 500 building, 5th floor, area renovation, or reconfiguration. So just a memo field here that we can put in. And now we can even go in, if it's tied to our space management module, we can go in and sync that up with an existing floor in the system. Okay? Once we have done that, we can submit this. And now in submitting it, it has gone out. Notifications, either through email or SMS text, would have gone out to the requester and to your project budget approvers, okay, whatever you want to call these personnel. You can have notification go out to the appropriate parties, letting them know that, hey, a new project has been submitted into the system. So for purposes of demonstration, we have set this up so that my role here, Tyler Redman, as a project manager, he gets to see everything. Okay, he sees all of the views. He sees every stage. Keep in mind, you don't have to have the system set up this way. All right, so you may have the system set up so that maybe he can request a project, but he's not the one approving it. That's another group or another person. Well, guess what? Then this view, okay, and access to this view would not be made available to project managers, all right? That is done through the security of our software, and all administration functions of our software are done through the web interface. So let me clarify a point here. FM Interact runs in a web browser. The preferred browser is Internet Explorer, but it can run in Firefox. It can run in Chrome, it can run in Safari. Okay, so there's a whole host of other browsers that are supported. Now, the viewers may not be supported in those other browsers, but certainly the functionality of being able to see and access potentially reports and data views, etc. are. Okay, so I just wanted to point that out. There is no software installed on your computer. It runs right through the browser interface. And because of that, we can use security, Internet Protocol and security Yes, we do support Active Directory, LDAP, and SAML. So basically, those we have you covered. Okay, if you're not using one of those, then you're not you fall outside the industry standard. And talk to us. It may be that we can still configure the system to work with whatever security tools that or protocols that you're using internally for authentication. Okay. So here we have our Northwest area reconfig, and I only see 3 projects in here. So the budget approver is only going to see the projects that still need to be approved. All right, so they can come in and they can click on edit here, and they see different information. All right, and I'm going to go in here and I'm going to look at this. And now the question is, am I going to approve this? So this occurs in the project status field. All right. So in the project status field, we have a few statuses that can be chosen from. Right now, it's in the proposed status, and we have 3 options. We can either approve it, defer it, or reject it. If we choose one of these, we get an additional field that now displays that we can put in notes for maybe the reason why we are rejecting this. Hey, budget cuts across the board, sorry, we can't afford this at this time, whatever it is. And even if I go in to approve this, okay, I still have the opportunity to go in and change the amount. So maybe it was requested at $100,000, but I'm only going to approve $90,000, okay? So you can do that as well within the system. Once I click Save Changes, watch what happens up here in the grid view area to this project. You're going to see that it disappears out of the view, all right? Because I'm done. I've done my work. My role was to approve the budget, and that was my only role here. I don't need to be cluttered by seeing ones that I've already approved, all right? It's gone on to the next stage in the process, and that happens to be the planning stage. In the planning stage now, once again, we see our Northwest area reconfiguration. Now, because it's been approved, we can give it a project code, whatever that might be. And I might say 2012 05-500 and RC for reconfiguration. You can come up with your own codes or even have it do an auto assignment of your code numbers, an incremental numbering, if you will. Now, if I go to Save Changes here, I want to point something out, and it says Project Manager cannot be empty, because that is tagged as a required field at this stage of the project. So I need to choose a Project Manager at this point. And here I can go in and maybe now, because it's been approved, I get more information, and now I can go in and say, you know what, this is going to involve about 5,000 square feet, okay? So I can save changes here. I can go in now that it has an actual value. I see the project code and it's sorted accordingly. I can go into my contracts and I can begin adding contract information to gather bids, etc. So I can define, soft costs, hard costs, FFE, etc. So I can choose these, go into bidding, for design, whatever it is, and then choose my vendors, all right? So interior design, and then my selected list of approved vendors. So you can do that. You can also rate your vendors. You can have a list of approved vendors, and then you can put in the information necessary that you think, is going to be required at this given level, okay? Submit that. We can also attach documents, all right? So now, I might go in here. I created this contract category, and now I might want to go in and gather multiple bids. Maybe from, maybe I had multiple vendors, not just one. Attach documents. Maybe attach those bids to the records, okay? So I can do that. So I can go through, gather all of my bids, and now I have a much better idea of how much this project might cost, and that's the next stage for estimate approval. Okay, and so simply you're going in and you're saying, okay, let's look at the details of all of these bids, make sure everything is kosher here, and then let's approve this. And maybe after that process you find out it's not 100 grand, it's actually going to be 120,000. We were off, you know, so again, we might want additional approval at that stage of the game, and you can do that, okay? And then ultimately, once that gets approved, it will go into an active project status, all right? So here we are within the active projects, and now I can choose. I happen to have one built out here already, 5th floor reconfiguration. Okay, we've linked it to a floor, so we can click on the view and see that floor. We might have a graphic view that displays the project area, so you might highlight that in AutoCAD using a thick P line or a dashed P line, something that uniquely identifies your project areas so that we can see that very quickly within the graphic views. Now when we look at project contracts, you'll see, oh gosh, we got a bunch of contracts in here. And then we're syncing those with purchase orders. Keep in mind that our system is not an e-procurement tool. It is not designed to generate purchase orders out of the system. That's still left to your finance group and whatever tools that they're using. What our system can do is link into the finance database. Okay, so based on purchase order as the key field, we can, you know, gather all the financial information there. Invoices that are coming in to that PO, okay, or being paid out by that PO, okay, we can track that and input that information. Any change order information, again, we might want to link here. We can also do expense forecasting. So if we go into any particular contract detail, we can come in and we can forecast, hey, I think at a future date I'm going to be invoiced by my vendor here, and we can forecast for that and then be able to track that through reports or through data views, okay? And we'll talk about that in a minute here as well. Project phases allow us to go in and define sequencing of events of our key milestones, okay? So we might come in and we might want to define, hey, you know, we are going to move out, we're going to dismantle, we're going to demo, whatever it is, then we're going to be replacing carpet, then we're going to be putting in new cubicles, and then our move-in stage, or excuse me, phase at this point, okay? And you can keep track of that through reports, etc. So I can come in here and I might have a report, and this project dashboard here I'll open up in a new window. We might have a report that shows us that information, okay, and I'll show you that to you in a moment here. Next, we have team members, and within team members we can define from the project manager all the way to additional team members, anyone that we might want to associate with this project. Okay, your team members might be tied to your different phases, okay, so you might have an association there. And then, of course, notifications can be generated to all or just single team members based on changes that happen to the project, okay? Let's take a look at this report now. So we have a Gantt type of chart displayed here where we can see all the phases combined and the project completion date. This Gantt chart happens to be showing us in red where we may have exceeded with a phase a project completion date. So we click on that. Very simple project here, but might be hard to read. This says the construction phase, and our completion date is right in the middle of there. This also may have came through as a notification to let the team members know, hey, do you realize that you have a phase that extends beyond the project completion date? Okay. The project summary, a great report. I think of it, I used to deal with projects as well as leases back in our old company, okay, that I used to work for. And I always thought of this as like a lease abstract. You know, you're trying to gather all the key points of information about the project and put it in one central location. And that's exactly what we're seeing here, information about the project financials, including broken down by the square feet that we've defined. Again, here's our breakout of the different project phases. We can go in and we can drill into the costs. So if we want to look at the FFE and see our furniture information and what's there, hard costs, paint, carpet replacement, and demolition. So we can drill in and see the details of any of these. Who are our team members, and what, if any, expense forecasting have we done on this project? So again, a great single report to be able to capture all this information in one location. Another report that I really like is the project financials. This report is very important, especially to upper management in regards to keeping track of how well we're doing on any given project that is active right now. And we can see with this conditional formatting in yellow if we're approaching the budget remaining, or if we're at or exceeded the budget remaining, okay? So, which, to be honest, occurs a lot. Change orders occur, delays occur, and, soon we're over budget. Well, it's important when we're approaching that and going over that for us to be aware when that is occurring within any given project. Okay. At this point now we move from the active stage, so let's go back to our active project. Oh, and by the way, documents. At any given level you can add as many documents as you'd like, and they can be anything you want, from an Excel spreadsheet to images or videos that you take, going out there and walking the project at different stages, to the change orders, to those bids, to hey, a Microsoft project. Maybe you're using that tool in conjunction with this tool, and you can add that here as a document attached. Drawings, DWF files. Okay, so anything you want to attach here, you can do that within the system. Okay. Our closeout process is going to take us through, if we're closing out a project, we have an additional tab now for punch list items. So we can go in and start adding what is required, and we can even do an assignment once again to the team members of the project. So again, we might want to assign, hey, Jane, you were responsible for carpeting. Go out and make sure that they stretch the carpet appropriately, that there's not any glue showing through on the carpet tiles that they put down. Was cove base installed correctly, if that was part of their job too. So all these things that we can manage and make sure at the closing out of the project that people are responsible for checking off on these particular items before we move this project into the final closed project, which is going to be your archived project category. Okay, so we would go in now, and now we would be able to see and compare projects. So once again, going back to some of these reports here, in the closeout process, we can rate our vendors. And the beauty of this is you may have, in this case, 3 different vendors for carpet. One of those vendors may constantly delay the project, order the wrong product, put out different change orders for this and that. So maybe they're the cheapest to begin with, but they take the longest, and after all is said and done, they're actually the most expensive because of all of the change orders that they put through. Okay, so you would rate them accordingly, and then now over time you begin to see that, maybe one vendor does very poorly and other vendors do very well. Okay, and then over a given rate of time, maybe this vendor that does very poorly, you remove from your approved vendors list, and you bring in someone brand new because you want to try out different folks and make sure you're being competitive in the marketplace. All right, so you can do that now with the tool. All right, we talked about expense forecasting. Last one here I'll show you is contract comparison by project. The uniqueness of this is that we can break down the estimates, the cost per square foot, what it was actually after the project was completed, we can look at similar projects over a given amount of time. Maybe you're doing a reconfiguration of a floor and you did a similar floor 3 years ago. Well, let's look at the costs and what we estimated, what were the actuals, put in our contingencies, okay, and now we have probably a pretty good estimate for this next floor that we're going to renovate this year, okay? So we can do that comparison. Again, keep in mind all of these reports that you see on the left-hand side, that's all part of the out-of-the-box reports. We would do, if you choose to purchase this module, we would still come out to do a needs analysis with you, okay, and to determine exactly how do you want your projects to flow. You know, what is your workflow? What are your approval requirements, right? What are the types of reports that are necessary for you? These can be automatically delivered, these reports. We can set up dashboards for you on any of these. So a lot of good flexibility here. Finally, before we close out this demonstration, I want to point out some of these admin views to be able to go in and see phases, invoice, contracts, etc., and be able to change those. And then as I scroll down below the project stages here, we have all change orders, all active contracts, you know, all invoices. So we don't have to look at them just by project. We can look at them on a global level, okay, and be able to manage them, set up notifications for them, and plan accordingly, okay? All right, well, that fulfills this very quick, high-level demo. Again, please contact fmsystems.com if you'd like a more high-level demo. And right now, I'm going to go into the question and answer area. Okay? And again, thank you for your time. Any of you who need to drop off, I appreciate your time and hope that we can talk to you further. Let's see. All right. Well, I had one. Let's see. Oh, no. I went the wrong way. Let me go back to the beginning. All right. For the federal government, we have several chain of command approvers. Can you set this up for several approvers? Absolutely. So yes, we have done that before. That's been a requirement on the project management module itself. So done it before, have experience, can absolutely do that again. Okay, thank you. Good question. Multi-tiered approving or multi-level approving is something our system can do. All right, next question is, when changes are made, is there an audit log of who and when were the changes made, I think? Is there an email notification when you are required to approve something in the system? Yes and yes. So yes, there is an audit log that can be tracked. You can either have an email notification go out to somebody, okay, and or you can have an email notification be written out to a table where we can then track it, and that's what this is, the project status audit log. So we can go in here, and this happens to be when the status changes, you know, in a project. We can record who did it, when they did it, what it was before, and what it was changed to. And by the way, all of the information that you see here, the contents, that's all configurable, so you can get it set up to say, you know, whatever you'd like it to say. Okay? And yeah, you can have, the second part of your question was, can you have an email notification go out when someone's required to, you know, so, hey, we've submitted this or we've made this change, it now requires approval. Yep, absolutely. Email notification goes out to that person letting them know that they need to approve this, as well as having the view available, available to them as well. Okay, Bobby, you asked, can we customize our report? Absolutely. The report engine that we use is SQL Server Reporting Services, also known as SSRS. We can use bids to create reports. We can also use ad hoc reporting through their report builder tool. So a number of different ways that you can create new reports, modify any of these existing reports, or create reports on the fly through the ad hoc report tool. So yes, customization, or I guess we might call it configuration, of the report tool is possible. Next question, if we do not have a PO system, is it possible to configure a PO process elsewhere in FM Interact and generate POs from it? Oh gosh, a little bit of a tricky question here, Nolene. I'm going to say, is it possible? Yes, it's possible. We would really have to look at your requirements hard to understand, because creating POs and doing invoices is really, it can be a tricky process. If all you need are the very basics of, hey, I just want to be able to set up a PO number, put in a few pieces of financial information and contact information, and that's it, that's all we really need for our company, then yeah, I'd say it's probably possible that we can do that for you. So it's really going to depend on the complexity of what you need for your organization. I won't say no, we can't do it, because again, that's, you know, our system is configurable. So yeah, I could go in and create a brand new form that would allow you to create a PO that writes out to an individual table and allows you to link it up here. But again, based on your requirements, I'm not sure if it'll meet it or not. Okay. James, you ask, is there built-in workflow to move tasks from one person to the next person who is responsible in the workflow? Yes, absolutely. So I'm sorry if I didn't highlight that enough when I was going through here, but as we move you know, through the stages, it can move to different personnel, okay? And different personnel might be managing different stages. Now, if you're talking about managing tasks, you know, like assigning actual tasks to your team members, that can be configured within the view, and you can set up to, you know, go in and create, you know, various tasks. Like I mentioned in the closeout process, those would be an example of tasks that would be assigned to team members within the system. And by the way, if I'm not answering these questions appropriately for you, please feel free to go back and further clarify your question. And it looks like, Nolene, you have another one. Can a project be broken down by discipline of the team? For example, HVAC electrical. Okay, if I understand your question correctly, Nolene, you're asking, let's break it down to the different disciplines in regards to, we might have some, well, let's say you have various team members, and those team members are responsible for, maybe one's responsible for any mechanical issues, HVAC ductwork, hot and cold piping, you know, whatever it might be. Then you have electrical, you know, and they're responsible, you know, maybe you're doing a project to put in, let's say you're medical, and you got a new x-ray machine coming in, and it has certain electrical requirements for it, right? So you have a team member. Can you break down, well, let's put it this way. You can break down the project in team members, okay, and phases by those different disciplines. But you wouldn't be able to break down the project like, well, or would you? I suppose you would. Yes, we could configure the project. So once you choose a type of project, then configure different disciplines within that project and have tasks or associated team members to that. So yeah, I guess that, forgive me, I have to kind of think off the cuff here and try and envision how this would work. So I think what you're asking is something that we could do. What I would suggest, Nolene, in your case is let's do a specific demo where we can deal with those specific questions directly. Okay? All right. Wow, lots of questions. This is great. All right, Bobby, can we get a downloadable demo to review further? Yeah, all these, in fact, I'm recording this webinar, so this will be made available to you after the fact. So that will be made, and there's also some other videos that we have on our website. So go to fmSystems.com and you can navigate out to some other videos that we have. I'm not sure, though, if we have any specific to project management other than the webinars. Okay, it looks like someone had to sign off, but they want an email of responses to the questions. Absolutely, that will be sent out as well. Okay, that wraps up questions. Thank you, everyone, for your time today, and hope to talk to you further. All right.